court, and it's kicked in off the head rather on the near side post. Finds De Silva, what a pass. De Silva shoots and scores.
Are we on? Red Bull Arena in a cloudy Harrison, New Jersey is the site for today's USL postseason matchup as the regular season champion New York Red Bulls 2 host Orlando City B in the Eastern Conference quarterfinals. I'm David Goss, joined by Christian Dyer here on the USL YouTube channel and NewYorkRedBulls.com for what should be a phenomenal match between these two. For New York Red Bulls 2, it's been a historic season. In their second year in existence, 21 wins, 3 losses, and 6 ties to end with 69 points, the most points ever, the most wins ever, and the most goals scored in USL history. And they host Orlando City B, sneaking into the postseason in their first year on the last day with a victory on the road against Bethlehem Steel to get it done. The playoffs now, 1-game series, win and move on. And there's the man who's going to try and get the goals, Christian, for Orlando today. Michael Cox, the big number 51 F forward.
Yeah, you talk about impressive. Michael Cox, not just being a physical specimen, putting himself in good spots, a very intelligent soccer player as well. Decent pace, someone who can certainly put the ball in the back of the net. Orlando's leading goal scorer, 11 goals, 4 assists. And Brandon Allen, absolutely no stranger to scoring goals, pacing the Red Bulls with 15 goals, second in the league overall in scoring. This is an intelligent player, someone with good touch, good finishing, uses his frame very well. 2 big-time scorers who have led their teams this far.
Sean Okoli winning the Golden Boot on 16 goals. Brandon Allen right behind him, as you said, tied for second in the league with 15 as he continues his goal-scoring run. It should be a perfect afternoon for soccer here at Red Bull Arena. And let's look at the starting lineups for these two teams. For Orlando City B, pretty similar for Coach Anthony Pulis. Mark Ridgers, who led the league in saves and goal. Tyler Turner and Zach Hayden at the fullbacks. Connor Donovan and Kyle McFadden at center backs. Harrison Heath, Andrew Ribeiro, Lewis Neal in the central midfield. Pierre De Silva on one wing, Marius Obakop, former New York Red Bull 2 player on one wing, and as we mentioned, Michael Cox up top. Who else are you looking for to play through for Orlando in this game?
Yeah, I think Lewis Neal is one of those cerebral type of players, good with the ball at his feet, decent touch as well, can spread the ball out. Look for Red Bull, especially with that central midfield pairing with Ribeiro, to really try to put some pressure on him, hurry him in terms of the build-up.
Johnny Mendoza with the goal last week, starting on the bench. A little bit of an injury, but an option for Anthony Pulis. For New York Red Bulls 2, Ryan Mira captains the side once again. Noah Powder and David Najem start at fullback. Zach Carroll center back with Aaron Long, who's moved up to the New York Red Bull MLS side, but returns for this game. Dan Metzger will partner Tyler Adams. In the holding midfield, in the attacking 3, Derek Etienne Jr., Florian Velo, and Vincent Bezecourt have been phenomenal. And up top, Brandon Allen. Not a lot of playoff experience on this team. Conrad Pleva did play in last year's postseason, as did Stefano Bonomo. No Speedy Williams today, but that attacking 3, Christian, of Bezecourt, Etienne Jr., and Velo have been phenomenal over the last 2 months.
They have been, but I'm looking at the 2 players behind them, and Metzger and Tyler Adams. Dan Metzger coming off what was last year a devastating knee injury, former first-round pick in the MLS draft of DC United, grown each and every game he's played this year for the USL team, and Tyler Adams as well. I think just growing in confidence, had some injuries as of late, kind of taking him out of the flow of things, but to me, those 2 controlling things defensively, 2-way midfielders will be very important. if Red Bull 2 wants to come out of here and advance to the next round.
These two teams have faced off twice already this season, a 2-2 draw down in Orlando in July, and then a 5-1 win for New York Red Bulls 2 here at this building August 12th, which led to a 7-match unbeaten run for Orlando City B as they closed out. What do you expect to see between the way these two teams play in the matchup today?
Yeah, well, we saw that last game, very free-flowing, very open game for both teams. Orlando on the wrong side of the score line, but still had many opportunities there. But with Red Bull, the way they like to play, the way they like to press, there tends to be a lot of space on the wings right in front of the back four. So this could be another game where there's a lot of back and forth.
One game, there's no second chances, one game to move on. If we're still tied, we go to extra time and penalty kicks. How does that change the way this game is played?
Well, I think certainly when you're looking at it from a Red Bull 2 perspective, probably a deeper team, a younger team, a team that certainly has thrown a lot of bodies out there throughout the course of this season. It's going to be probably the first 20, 25 minutes. They're going to be looking to go out there, put at least a goal up, and then they've done a very good job to close out the season holding on to the lead. If you're Orlando, you want to weather the storm. Those first 20 minutes or so, make it through, see what you can do on the counterattack, see where you can find the spaces in front of that back line to play the balls.
New York Red Bull 2, 8-2-4 at home, an astonishing 13-1-2 away, but they won the regular season title and the right to host throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs if they can continue to win and move on. Last year they hosted the first round of the playoffs, a 4-2 extra time victory against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, winning goals coming from Carl Ouimet. But the point of this team, the youth of this team, Christian, means not a lot of players have experience on both sides in moments like this. What do these coaches have to do to make sure that their players are ready to go?
Well, certainly when you're looking at it, you're looking at a very young squad in the starting 11 for both of these teams. I mean, these are players, a lot of them have played at the youth national team level. They played college soccer in big moments before. So I think it's just as simple when you're coming down and you're being Anthony Poulos or John Wolonek on either sideline. Just go out there, just play your game. Keep it simple. Keep everything in front of you if you're the defense. And if you're the offense, take your chances, take your opportunities. Be daring, because if you're not, there may not be a tomorrow.
New York Red Bull 2 coming off a 2-1 road victory against the Charleston Battery to close out regular season play. Orlando City Soccer Club B coming out with a 2-0 victory on the road against Bethlehem Steel to clinch their playoff spot in the final game of the USL regular season. We've already seen teams move on in both the Western and Eastern Conference. Rochester Rhinos with a 3-1 win at home against the Charlotte Independents yesterday. These two teams will go to battle to see who will face off against the USL defending champion Rhinos next Friday night. Ryan Mira leading his side out, as is Lewis Neal, the two most experienced players on the field. Neal at 35 years old, Ryan Mira 26. As we are ready to go down to the field for our national anthems, and we'll be back here with all your first half action of the USL playoffs. Anthems are done, processions are through, and we are ready to go as the 2016 USL postseason kicks off here in New Jersey. New York Red Bulls too, trying to build on their regular season championships. There have been 2 regular season and USL champions, double winners in the history of USL. It was this Orlando City's original USL team in 2011, as well as the Rochester Rhinos last year. New York Red Bulls too, breaking a few Orlando City records from 2014 in terms of win, points, and goals scored. Last year's Rochester Rhinos, 17 shutouts. This year's New York Red Bull 2 teams, 16, second most ever. You see our 4 officials there with the captains. Matthew Kreitzer, our head official, his 2 assistants, Tom Feliz and Justin Lopez. The 4th official, Jared Simmons. Christian, we've been experimenting a little here at Red Bull Arena with video assisted replay throughout the final parts of the regular season. Not a part of this game here today. It'll be just the 4th officials as John Wolinek's boys are ready to go. And Christian, what a job John has done in his first 2 years as a head coach and the first 2 years of this franchise.
Yeah, USL Coach of the Year. And I know people are going to say he has an immensely talented roster, yes, but it takes a certain coaching acumen to be able to do that, to get players who are stars at the under-17, under-20 national team, under-23 national team level with players like a Dan Metzger, get the most out of them, get them motivated in this environment. And yes, he has tremendous resources and facilities with the academy and with the Red Bulls practice facility, which is arguably the best in the league. But when you look at the roster turnover, the starting 11 he had to start the year is nothing like the one he's got out there now, with the call-ups, with the full senior team, Aaron Long getting bumped up, players like a Sean Davis being elevated full-time, not being loaned down to the USL side as much anymore. Just the constant roster flux and turnover has tested his depth. It's also tested his ability to coach. And I think Wolynek has gone out there, made a statement that not only is he one of the best coaches in the USL, but he's really a hot young name in the US soccer scene, someone who I think can grow into a role with an MLS franchise.
So the whistle blows, and we are off here at Red Bull Arena. The 2016 USL regular season champions, New York Red Bulls 2, hosting Orlando City B, looking for a place in the Eastern Conference semifinals next week and looking to, for both sides, continue their season. We talked about Coach Wolynek on the flip side for Coach Pulis. His first year as a head coach, the first year of this Orlando City B team, he's able to make the postseason, which is a compliment to what he's been able to do, Christian, and the way he's been able to set this team up with flux at the MLS levels to try and show some consistency at the USL level.
Yeah, it's flux at the MLS level, losing a couple key guys there. Once Jason Christ became the head coach for the MLS team, definitely hurt his depth. Some key contributors there, his regulars being lost there. And then you're talking about just overall roster upheaval, the development of their academy now a couple years in as well. So there's been a lot for Coach Pulis to have to deal with in getting his team into the playoffs. You know, David, I look at this and I think about the Red Bulls team last year that at the USL level struggled a little bit at times. There was a lot of inconsistencies with the starting 11, with the roster always being in flux, and yet they made a run in the playoffs. And I think the same thing's playing out here with Orlando and their development and growth.
Michael Cox battling in the box, gets it back to Neal. Out wide to Turner. Turner's cross is blocked by Noah Powder. And it goes out. Noah Powder, the only New York Red Bull current academy player starting today. Kevin O'Toole on the bench as well. A number of young academy players who have either gone to college or yet to go to college have cycled through this team throughout the year.
And O'Toole could have possibly been starting. Tyler Adams battling a cold today. If Adams wasn't able to go, O'Toole would have been slotted into the starting 11, and Najem, in all likelihood, would have been pushed up into the midfield.
Slide tackle there from Powder into a dangerous area. It's covered by New York, and Adams there, you mentioned, getting over that cold. Able to clear it back out. Brandon Allen looking to turn. The ball's deflected off of him, but lands perfectly for Etienne Jr. Derek Etienne Jr., the leader on this team in assists this season, just missing out on a call-up to the Haitian national team for the next round of Caribbean Cup qualifying coming up over the next 2 weeks. He was on the 30-man roster, did not make the final roster, as he has been on the verge of that international debut over the last 6 to 8 months. Ryan Meara wearing the captain's armband as the most senior player in this team. Kyle Rainish does have enough appearances at the USL level to qualify for the postseason. You have to make your debut in USL before September 1st and play at least 5 games, as Etienne Jr. now goes in and it gets tackled away. Connor Donovan there. And it'll be out for the first corner kick of the game. The big bodies from the back line of Aaron Long and Zach Carroll moving forward. Brandon Allen, of course, in the box, always an option. Etienne Jr.'s cross played in. It's flicked onto the back post, and Carroll will try and keep it alive. Back out to Najem. Tyler Adams, time and space to pick his head up. He looks for the far post to Brandon Allen, who brings it down towards Bezecourt. It's knocked away by Obacop. And finally won away by Ribeiro. Najem now in a battle with Pierre Da Silva, the assist leader for Orlando City B in U.S. Youth International. Etienne Jr. with a good first touch. He curls a shot just wide of that far post. An aggressive opening few minutes, Christian, for this New York Red Bull 2 side.
And Derek Etienne also willing to come in from the left, go across the face of goal with his right foot, going towards that back post. And that's what you like from Derek Etienne Jr., his ability to stretch things, shoot from distance, opens things up for his teammates, not just with the creativity, but also with that willingness to shoot from distance.
Etienne Jr. making his MLS debut September 11th against DC United. He's also appeared in CONCACAF Champions League, Christian, and we've seen this USL setup and this roster be very influential in the Champions League for New York Red Bulls early on this season.
It certainly has been, and he got some really good minutes playing against Club America in that friendly in July, showed that the moment wasn't too big for him, and a player who I think has really grown and developed from last year, the quickness, the way he's playing.
Ball down in the box. It's still alive and finally cleared by Orlando City B. Michael Cox now looks to let off some pressure, but New York Red Bulls, too, coming out as they've played all season with a lot of energy in these opening minutes. That one tackled away by Turner. Tyler Turner having a phenomenal season for Orlando City B. His first chance at sustained professional soccer minutes. This now his 22nd start. He's got 4 goals and an assist from that right back position. One of the bright young players around the U.S. Bezecourt pushing it back the other way. Etienne once again looking for a teammate. Someone headed away. Metzger collides with Neal, and it'll go in favor of Orlando City B. And how big a presence is Lewis Neal going to be in this one, Christian? 35 years old, an experienced player. He's played in the Premier League. He's played in MLS. He's played in USL playoff games in his past. And that's what he's in this team for, to bring some calm to his teammates.
Without a doubt, he's a calming influence. And Lewis Neal will never probably be confused with being the most athletic player on the field. But certainly his ability on the ball just to hold things up, to spread it around, tremendous vision, ability to cross the ball, good touch. Also brings a lot on set pieces as well. So Lewis Neal on a roster built for tomorrow is an important sort of bridge between the coaching staff and the younger players to kind of show them a way how to be the consummate professional. And that's certainly what he brings to the table with Orlando City B.
Donovan slides that one away. Connor Donovan, a first-round draft pick by Orlando City out of NC State. Generation Adidas player, former U.S. Youth International at the U20 World Cup.
Are you sure it's not pronounced Donovan?
And hat-trick Rick. Noah Powder puts the cross in. Another one blocked away. And it goes out, and they're questioning throw-in, and it will be a throw-in. New York Red Bull 2 putting on the pressure early on. In the last matchup, the 5-1 victory, New York Red Bull 2 had 4 goals in the second half, went into halftime leading 1-0. But they seem to be looking to start aggressively today. This team set a number of records this season. They had 60 goals scored in total, 36 in the second half of games, a plus, I believe it was 25 goal differential, some numbers that are astounding, 13 road wins. How do you get this team to now transition and say none of that matters anymore because it's win or go home time as you move forward and everyone's equal?
Well, I think a big key for the Red Bulls in their run to being first in the entire league was consistency. Back line always played with the same mindset. The midfield and the attack, similar movements, similar ideas, similar in terms of the high press, no matter who the personnel was out there. And I don't know if John Wolyniec had the same starting 11 twice this season just because of all the constant roster flux that he had, but just an understanding from the academy setup all the way up to the MLS sides that this is how we play, this is our identity, this is who it is to be a New York Red Bulls player and what your responsibilities are going to be on the field and off the field. And so now come playoff time, David, I think it's the same thing. Do exactly what took you to this point, and the Red Bulls might well be hosting a championship game.
Harrison Heath getting this one restarted, son of former Orlando City head coach and USL champion Adrian Heath, a homegrown player for this team. Was injured in the first matchup here, but returning back to his central midfield position. He was paired with Pedro Ribeiro last week at Bethlehem, but Ribeiro not with the team today, so Andrew Ribeiro takes over that spot as Tyler Adams pushes forward. The gem creeps forward from right back into the feet of Velo. Velo with the low cross, and it's blocked.
Velo's been an absolutely tremendous player for Red Bulls, too, and someone who I think probably if things had played out a little differently, could have seen more minutes in the Champions League. Impressive when playing in that Club America friendly we referenced a few minutes ago. Just good poise on the ball, great vision, willing to take players on 1v1, and his growth and development in the high press, as evidenced in training week in, week out. Really, I think someone who probably come January, February, we're going to see with the Red Bulls MLS side in preseason being given the chance to make a statement. He certainly has a very bright future and just growing by leaps and bounds as the season has gone on.
Now Velo joining the team in the summer from the PDL squad, the U23 team. That wasn't a tryout. The team was working on getting his international visa and his international papers together. He played at Rider University here in New Jersey, so New York Red Bulls, too, had seen him. New York Red Bulls had seen him, wanted him to be a part of the team, actually traveled to the away Champions League game on Tuesday night with the first team, sat on the bench, didn't get minutes, but his first opportunity to go into competitive environment with that squad, and he has been one of the highlights of the season so far for New York Red Bull, too. Getting his first career professional goal in a win over FC Cincinnati at Nippert Stadium that really helped push this team forward to their regular season title. Etienne Jr. dribbling into the box. He finds Allen. Allen trying to turn. Donovan's able to scamper it away, but once again, emergency defending in the 18 for Orlando City B in these opening 10 minutes. Long up the wing to Powder. Dan Metzger finding some space in front of this Orlando back line. Now Noah Powder comes forward one-on-one here with Turner. Powder trying to get to the end line. Tyler Turner able to block the cross and clear it away. Orlando City struggling to win that second ball and clear their lines here early on. Michael Cox has been pretty anonymous and stranded, Christian, at the top of this Orlando City formation.
Yeah, but yet it takes Michael Cox with his physical abilities only one moment to be able to turn nothing into absolutely something. He's great at the hold-up play, but his understanding, sitting in pockets, understanding the channels, tremendous player on the counterattack.
Cox trying to prove it here. He forces the turnover, wide now to Neal. Neal coming off a wonder strike last week against Bethlehem to seal that 2-0 victory in the second half. Neal, as we mentioned, kept on. He was released from the MLS roster and then asked to come back to play this role with this team as well as be part of the first team broadcast, to be around the club and around these young players to help them learn a little bit, bring that calming veteran presence. And that'll be necessary here today, Christian, because they're already up against it. Heavy pressure from New York, and what's been amazing about the way New York's gone about these last 2-3 months in this run to the title is not just the goals, but then defensively they've cleaned things up, shutout after shutout. And early on in the season, we'd see games where they dominate possession, give up maybe goals against the run of play, and lose games or draw games here at home. And they stopped doing that over the last 2 months or so, and they've really cleaned up that half of the game.
They certainly have, and I think it's been the partnership with Long and Carroll back there just getting more and more minutes. And these were guys that earlier in the year were getting opportunities, were fringe players for the MLS side, kind of in between Carroll getting released early on. Long kind of buried a little bit with some of the center back talent that Red Bulls had at the MLS level. But when you look at these two, they're understanding their movement on and off the ball, the rest defense that they bring, but certainly their aerial abilities, the pace as well. And Noah Powder, I think, has really emerged over the past month and a half, 2 months. We saw glimpses of what he could do early on in the summer, but just his development, his overall growth, his ability to move forward, but his willingness to sit back and defend, but also be involved in the high press. Noah Powder is a very exciting player. He's someone who I also think probably will be getting a look at a homegrown contract this offseason.
Trinidad and Tobago Youth International. He spent a lot of time away from this team this season with international play, as well as with the development team in the academy playoffs, as Velo's cross gets blocked. But like you said, Powder, another player that this New York Red Bull 2 setup is very happy with, who's had a big year getting a start in the postseason.
I'm not a betting man, David, but if I was, I would put money on Noah Powder being offered one of those homegrown contracts.
Derek Etienne Jr., one of the players from last year's academy that got offered the contracts, as Vincent Bezecourt takes this one. It's flicked on at the near post. Velo asking for a handball, but all he'll get is a corner kick. Bezecourt, a goal from a direct free kick in the last game against Charleston, and he'll take this service once again, drilled at the near post and knocked away. Bezecourt, injured in the second game of the season, missed about 3 months as this ball's clipped back in towards Carroll.
Another player creative on the ball, 1v1 with the dribble, a willingness to take it on, puts himself in good positions, but loves to drift out wide where there's space.
Metzger forcing the turnover off of Cox's feet. Now Etienne Jr.'s got some space. He looks to pick out a teammate. The shot from Velo, but it's easily taken by Mark Ridgers, the Scottish goalkeeper who led the league in saves. And one of the most incredible parts to me about this season for New York Red Bulls 2 was Junior Fleming's one of the best players on the team, as we see this replay now of Velo's opportunity. 5 goals, a couple assists. He gets hurt. He misses the year. Alex Mule becomes a full-time player with the first team. Sean Davis also moving up. And then Velo and Bezecourt come out of nowhere and become just as dangerous, if not more dangerous offensively than what they were replacing. And New York Red Bulls 2 don't miss a beat, as Bezecourt takes the shot, and it's saved by Ridgers.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think you're also looking at Speedy Williams out as well with an injury. Missed the past couple games, going to miss this one. Perhaps he could be available for the next round or a little bit later in the playoffs. But a lot of injuries, even more depth for the Red Bulls.
Etienne Jr. with the shot, and it's saved. Ridgers 3 straight saves here in a minute.
Yeah, and once again, another opportunity from distance from Bezecourt. Etienne then following that up just a few moments later, but this is the Red Bulls winning the second ball, strangling the other team, choking them. A lot of space being found down that left channel, down that left flank right now from Red Bull. Orlando doesn't seem like they have any answers right now to Etienne's movement. Adams pinching in over there as well, but Etienne, you have to like this from distance, finding the space, almost squirms through Ridgers' arms.
Free kick will go against Cox, battling with Long in that aerial duel. Etienne Jr., though, looks like he's in the mood today. Christian, he has been aggressive since the first whistle. We've seen games where he can float out at times. We've seen games where he can also be dominant. It looks like it may be the latter today.
Yeah, Etienne is definitely one of those players who, when he feels it, when he's on, loves to take it on 1v1, very creative, good with the ball at his feet, will always take any opportunity when he's open within 18 to 20 yards in terms of his shooting ability. And his ability to shoot from distance has certainly grown throughout the season. And you see him time and time again with the senior squad being called up to training. He looks very much like he belongs, like he's going to be a player who's going to figure into the Red Bulls on the MLS side more and more come 2017.
Ryan Meara getting a touch. Mark Ridger's already 3 saves in this one. Every goalkeeper, Christian says, they like to get an early touch.
Not this many touches, though, if you're Mark Ridgers. And this Orlando back line being pulled apart consistently. Their back four being stretched with the movement of Etienne on one side, with Velo, with Bezecourt floating out on the right-hand side, really pulling them apart. And if Brandon Allen's able to make those runs, could be a lot of space there centrally to be exploited for Red Bull.
Noah Powder fouled there by Tyler Turner on that aerial ball. So a free kick going to New York Red Bulls 2 here. Looks like it's going to be Tyler Adams to take it. Tyler Adams, the first ever signing in New York Red Bull 2 history last year. Just 16 years old, still just 17 now on a homegrown MLS contract. Made his debut in San Jose earlier this summer with 45-minute appearance. He's another player who's played 3 games in Champions League for New York Red Bulls, as well as that Club America friendly. Velo's layoff is intercepted.
And we talked about Sean Davis. Sean Davis last year kind of came up through the system using the USL as a springboard, stood out in those matches, and then began slowly but surely to see his minutes increase at the MLS level as a substitute, occasionally getting a start. And then this past year when Dax McCarty goes down, he's thrust into the starting 11, looks every bit the part of not just an MLS midfielder, but a standout at the position. His movement, his fluidity, and I think Tyler Adams will probably see a similar trajectory in 2017. He'll see more minutes coming in off the bench, and depending on what Red Bull decides to do with their center midfield pairings, if a player ends up needing to be moved or some moves are made in the offseason, Tyler Adams then might be the 4th central midfielder, so his minutes will certainly increase.
Mark Ridgers getting his hands on the ball once again off that set piece. New York Red Bulls family, of course, known for their high press style. From Leipzig to Salzburg to Harrison, New Jersey.
And Red Bull München as well.
Red Bull München, the hockey team, of course, which we just learned about an hour ago between me and Christian. Zach Carroll, former high school player of the year in the U.S., USU 17 player. And now Pierre Da Silva. He hasn't gotten on the ball much going forward. He's able to earn a free kick there.
Yeah, Pierre Da Silva is a player John Walenek was talking with me about before the match. Very concerned about him 1v1, but the service that he provides down the left flank in terms of his crossing ability, his touch, it's a big concern and something that John Walenek was spending a lot of time this week wondering and worrying about.
Stay up to date on the latest from the USL Cup playoffs by following the league on social media. You can follow the USL on Facebook and Instagram for results, news, and video action from these playoff matches. You can also go to USLsoccer.com for full coverage of the playoffs, as well as the site to find all of the streams for the matches throughout the postseason. It's already been a phenomenal postseason. Vancouver coming back after going down 1-0 early on in Colorado. In the opening playoff game, Swope Park Rangers knocking off last year's Western Conference champions, the LA Galaxy 2 at home. Last night, 2 big upsets, Oklahoma City Energy with 2 goals in stoppage time, and then Sacramento Republic, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, falling at home in penalty kicks to Orange County Blues 5-4. So New York Red Bulls 2, the only number 1 seed remaining, trying to do a little bit for the favorites as the underdogs have had their day so far. About 22 minutes played here. New York Red Bull 2. Offensively, you have to say, have controlled this one since the opening whistle. Maybe a half chance here for Orlando City B, though, against the run of play to get something.
And Marius Obika on the ball right there. Former New York Red Bulls player, someone who had seen some opportunities in the Champions League and U.S. Open Cup and so on. Very technically gifted player for Orlando City. Certainly someone who I think has a bright upside, but injuries have always seemed to hurt him. And just an understanding of not just how to technically play the game, but tactically is part of development for him.
Long ball over the top towards Etienne Jr. as New York Red Bulls 2 try and counter. He's able to keep it in. Now help coming. De Silva looks to stand him up, and he's able to do just enough and allow Orlando City B to get back and clear their lines. Obacop only his 5th start of the season. He came in at halftime for Johnny Mendoza in Bethlehem. Got the next 45 minutes there. This is his 18th appearance of the season. It was a big part of what New York Red Bulls 2 put together last year, making the postseason in their first year and hosting a playoff game, eventually falling in the Eastern Conference semifinals to the USL champion Rochester Rhinos. So we have a player down. Mark Ridgers putting the ball out so the trainer can come out and help out. It looks like it's Lewis Neal there, down on the ground, the experienced player. About 25 minutes played here, about halfway through this first half. Christian, what have you seen from these two teams?
Well, very little build-up out of the back for Orlando City B. It seems like they're just pumping long balls towards midfield, hoping to find the feet of Michael Cox at some point. It really kind of without any type of width to their game. Certainly no build-up at all. And on the counterattack, they just haven't been able to press forward numbers, but they've been very content to sit back, final 30 yards or so, set up with their blocks of 4 and then a block of 5 right in front of Ridgers in goal. And for Red Bull 2, winning the second ball, sustained pressure, wave after wave. But after about the first 10 or 12 minutes or so, they've sort of bogged down a little bit as they found space in the passing lanes, not quite as much as they had earlier in the game. So I think Orlando, from a defensive point of view, has done a better job in cutting down the space and certainly the passing lanes for Red Bull 2, but the possession's all going towards the home team.
Coach Wolnick and Coach Pulis, a lot to consider already. Lewis Neal now walking off. Richie Larea stripped off his training top and went down to start warming up. It seemed like he would be the replacement if necessary there in central midfield. Larea, the 7th pick of this year's Super Draft for Orlando. A Generation Adidas player out of Akron. Grew up with Kyle Larin in Toronto and playing at Sigma FC. Lewis Neal will continue. New York Red Bull 2 returns the ball, and OCB gets us started. OCB trying to turn around the story for their season. It was an up-and-down season. They came in here on August 12th, I mentioned, on a 9-match unbeaten run, 4-0-5, coming off 2 late game winners against Toronto FC and Louisville City. They fell 5-1 here and proceeded to go 0-6-1 in their next 7 games before finally beating Bethlehem. So it was a bright season for them. They were sitting on 31 points on August 12th when they came here. They ended the season on 35 points, Christian. A tough 2-month stretch. But a win here today would change all of that.
It certainly would be, and it would very much mirror the team that they're playing today in New York Red Bull 2, who went through an awful lot last year. Their first year in the USL didn't have a lot of depth. They had some good quality players, some good pieces to the core, but certainly didn't have the kind of depth to ride out the USL season. Call-ups, international team duty, injuries, and everything else in between. And Orlando got hit losing those 2 pieces when Jason Christ came on board, the players being signed to the MLS squad. And I think that win against Bethlehem Steel, outplayed in that match, but certainly being able to churn out a result on the road, tough conditions, is a building block for them. And no matter what happens today, I think next year with more depth, a better idea of what they need talent-wise to compete at the USL, and as their academy setup continues to grow and develop, things are certainly trending up for Orlando City, but not an easy task today against the best team in the USL. And you've heard some people talk about it. Is this the best team ever to have played in the USL in New York Red Bull 2?
The Gem will take the throw in. You think Orlando City, a lot of options of young players in that area. Haji Barry drafted from that area. Johnny Mendoza went to Stetson as well. So a lot of young players in the Orlando, Florida area that they could potentially pick up and add to their program over the next few years as Etienne Jr. plays it down the wing to Powder. The cross played in towards the far post, headed away by Ribeiro. Metzger able to get the second ball. And New York Red Bulls, too, finally get that breakthrough here. Powder's cross is blocked. They've been knocking on the door for this opening 25 minutes. They've yet to be able to put up that first goal, though. Adams looking to go to the corner. Lewis Neal tackles it off his feet, and it goes out for a New York Red Bull 2 corner kick. Orlando City B, 49 goals conceded on the year. New York Red Bull 2, as I mentioned, 61 goals scored. Bezecourt with the left-footed service. This one headed over the top. Once again, Florian Velo getting on the end of it, but not able to direct it on frame. New York Red Bull 2, Christian, on set pieces, they've been dangerous this season, but at times they've had Conrad Pleva at right back, who's over 6 feet tall, Tim Schmoll. At center back, Stefano Bonomo. They don't really have those aerial options on the field right now. They've been able to get on the end of things, but for Orlando City, it's looked very simple so far on those corner kicks and set pieces defensively.
It certainly has, and not only that, I think back to Noah Powder about a minute and a half ago when he got free down the left flank, floated the ball across the 6-yard box, kind of lofted it in when the better opportunity would have been, given Orlando's size in the center of the defense, with Hayden, with Donovan, even McFadden as well back there when he pinches in, that the better option would have been to hit it low, hit it hard across the face of the goal, and see what happens. And Red Bull's best opportunities in the match have been when they've been able to ping the ball in around the 18.
First yellow card of the game is issued to Andrew Ribeiro for that tackle there on Florian Velo. Ribeiro out of Creighton University, just 25 years old. He knows this area well, was a supplemental draft pick by the New York Red Bulls. Tyler Adams will take the set piece. So another chance for New York, they go short. Adams now plenty of space to pick his head up, chooses not to go long.
David, if I have thoughts on the USL, how can I share those thoughts?
You can tweet the hashtag USL Playoffs, and we'll make sure to check those out, especially at halftime. Answer any questions you have for the great Christian Dyer. For any obviously breaking news, you can follow him on Twitter. What's the handle?
I played intramural soccer in college.
It starts with an at.
Intramural
Okay.
soccer.
Just
in college,
making
yes.
sure that it's grammatically correct. Tyler Adams going to his side. To the feet of Bezecourt. Bezecourt now able to hold off Obakop. He pushes it down the wing. Najem's cross, and it's blocked away. And now Obakop looking to counter back the other way, and Adams makes the tackle. Etienne with the touch. New York Red Bulls, too, get the cross in. It's blocked by McFadden, out for a corner kick.
Etienne floating out there on the right-hand side, seeing a little bit of space where the activity is. This is who Derek Etienne is. One-on-one ability to create, ability to take players on and find space and separation.
Once again, it'll be Vincent Bezecourt with the corner kick. See if New York Red Bull 2 can make this one count. It's still alive in the box. The chance at the far post, and Aaron Long puts it home for the opening goal in this one. New York Red Bull 2 take a 1-0 lead.
And Aaron Long there in the box, the back of the post there, probably for his aerial ability, puts one in from the bench with the MLS squad last night to putting his team up in the USL playoffs 1-0. Bezecourt floating this ball and just not accurately taken care of by Orlando City, failing to clear their lines. Aaron Long there to put it in at the back post. Well-deserved 1-0 lead there for Red Bull 2.
Aaron Long, his first goal of the season. He slams it home at the far post. You mentioned on the bench last night with the MLS squad. Getting the start here today with the USL side. And giving New York Red Bull 2 the 1-0 lead. They've been coming over the opening 30 minutes of this game. And finally, one of the corner kicks for New York Red Bulls 2 pays off. They take a 1-0 lead. I mentioned last year here at home in the opening round of the postseason against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, New York. 1-1 draw coming out of regular time, a 4-2 victory in extra time. Carl Ouimet starting at center back that night. He had 2 goals in stoppage time, or excuse me, in extra time to get his team the victory.
Ouimet now on loan in the NASL with Jacksonville Armada and playing and doing well and getting called up for Canada's national team.
World Cup qualifying and friendlies, Caribbean Cup qualifying just a week or so away.
Sasha Kleshtin, New York Red Bulls, again getting deserved call-ups.
Kleshtin announced this afternoon will join the U.S. and Florida to head then to Cuba before hosting New Zealand in a friendly as they gear up for that November 11th World Cup qualifier against Mexico at Mafre Stadium in Columbus. Derek Etienne Jr. and Junior Flemings both put on the Copa America preliminary rosters for their respective nations, Jamaica and Haiti.
And if he wasn't hurt, I think Devin Williams would have been given a long look from Jamaica as well. The way he's played with the USL team, he's done well with the opportunities he had with the Red Bull senior side, such as the friendly against Club America. Someone who I think probably January as well is going to get a call up for a look with the MLS team. And my money would be on him being on the MLS roster next year.
He made his debut against Chelsea last year after signing. Banged a shot off the crossbar in that one, and has been flying ever since. Got his first goal of his professional career this season. Noah Powder pushing forward, trying to double this lead. Obacop maybe a chance to vacate that space for New York Red Bulls. 2 players close on it, with Brandon Allen getting called for the foul. Allen, those 15 goals, he's been in phenomenal form. 3 of the last 4 have come from the penalty spot, which he's taken over clearly those duties and handled it well. But we saw early on this season a target forward role for him. Now, of course, the biggest presence out there. But he's been dropping deep a lot more, Christian. He's been creating a little bit more, interchanging more with Bezecourt, Velo, and Etienne Jr., showing more elements to his game.
And I know that certainly when you look at him physically, Brandon Allen has some of the skill set to be a target forward, but that's not really his game. He likes running the channels. He likes playing off the shoulder of the final defender, and he certainly enjoys dropping back, but then that's going to create space behind him for Velo, Bezecourt, who have all benefited, Junior Flemings when he was on the field as well, who have all benefited from the space from his run. So I think it's been a year of development and maturity from Brandon Allen. Would like to see him start playing a little bit faster with a little bit more purpose if he's going to take that next step.
Allen made his MLS debut this summer against Toronto FC. And then that night played in a USL match as well. Those 15 goals have led this team, and as I mentioned, second in the Golden Boot race in the league. Jack McBean, of course, off to a hot start, and then heading to MLS and then overseas to play in England. And so his mark was the number everyone was chasing. Chandler Hoffman, Shauna Coley having big seasons, as well as Brandon Allen. Metzger stepping up and knocking that ball off. Tyler Turner's touch just a little bit too long. Zach Hayden starting at left back again today for Orlando City B, replacing Mikey Ambrose at left back. They haven't had a true left footer since Ambrose has left. Hayden's filled in very well, but not that natural player moving into the attack that Ambrose was. Tony Rocha, the other player you mentioned, getting an opportunity under Jason Kreis. So his spot has had to be filled at central midfield. Pedro Ribeiro last week, Andrew Ribeiro this week. The Gem and Velo try and link up down that right wing, and Hayden right on cue over to guide that ball out and earn a throw in. Nike's a proud partner of the USL. Follow at Nike Soccer on Twitter for all the latest Nike Soccer information, or go to nike.com/soccer. Etienne Jr. floating over to that other wing. Bezecourt takes the shot, and he pulls it wide.
And you like the interchange here from Red Bull too, with the quick passing, one touches, moving into space, supporting each other. It's just right now Orlando doesn't seem to have any sort of answer for the speed of play from New York, and certainly in their own build-ups have been entirely lacking.
Etienne Jr. gets the ball, first time pass, and it rolls right to Ridgers as he calls off McFadden and takes that ball. Christian, what can Orlando do to generate some attack in these closing 5 minutes or in the second half?
Well, I think they're going to have to stretch things some more. I've seen very little play down the left side for them. Almost everything has been hopeful, kind of long balls up to Michael Cox, who's been looking to turn. But then when Cox wins possession, he's actually not in a position where he can do much with it other than do hold-up play. The support has been very slow in coming. And I think between Carroll and Aaron Long, Red Bull 2 has done a very good job of one man behind, one man in front, kind of denying him service, which has really negated his sort of impact and ability to put his stamp on the game. So I'm not sure there's a whole lot Orlando can do with the personnel they have on the field right now, other than probably just try to stretch things, maybe get some speed into the game in the second half and see if maybe they can play on the counter, get the ball quickly, catch Red Bull 2 in transition.
The Gems cross finally knocked down to Velo's feet. Now Etienne Jr. with the shot, and it's blocked. Noah Powder closes on it first. Allen going to ground. No call made in the box. And now a battle between these two teams, and Obacop comes away with it. Mark Ridgers finally clears.
That definitely looked like a push in the back. Whether Allen actually had control of the ball, was going to be able to make a play on it or not, looked to me like a foul in the box.
De Silva now a chance to maybe stretch his legs a little bit. Adams comes over, closes on him, and forces the turnover. Now Velo back the other way. He's got Etienne Jr., Allen,
Loads of space,
and now Bezecourt. Bezecourt's got the entire field in front of him. He takes the long shot. It's deflected, but it'll go out for a goal kick. Let's talk about the other side of the field, though, Christian. Tyler Adams closing here to Silva down, allowing New York to force the turnover and ending in Bezecourt's shot.
Yeah, quick transition right there, and Bezecourt perhaps not the best option. He had Etienne floating out there wide left. He had Brandon Allen making a run centrally and Velo on the right. They had numbers. They were moving forward quickly. Orlando was pulled apart. I like the fact that he's willing to shoot from distance, but perhaps not the best opportunity given the space that the other attackers had in front of him.
Cox now. His chances to get on the ball have been rare in this first half, but we saw in the last game here in New York, not a lot of opportunities, still able to get himself a scrappy goal, and at the time make it 3-1 for his team. Now Orlando gets a few numbers around the box. It goes wide to Turner. Powder comes out. He blocks the initial cross, headed away by Metzger. Turner then brings down the second ball, but using his shoulder as that one is called for a handball.
In Orlando, when they're moving the ball quickly, they're able to catch the Red Bulls stretched out just a little bit. There is space, but other than Cox, no one else is making that run.
As you see there, you can go to nike.com/soccer for all your Nike soccer information. As now Harrison Heath getting a little talking to from our head official. It's been a simple one so far, refereeing-wise, for this game, you'd have to say, Christian.
Well, other than the push on Brandon Allen, I think in the box, it's been a pretty good match so far. Everything's been pretty straightforward. There hasn't been too many dicey challenges out there. But, yeah, I think that Allen one might be one where Pro goes back and looks at it and you know, at least internally determines that, yeah, there was a foul miss there, because that was a very blatant push in the back.
Powder able to tack it away from Obacop. Quick first touch down to Etienne Jr.'s feet. One-on-one now with the center back. Wide to Bezecourt. His cross. It's finally knocked away by Ribeiro. Slowly hit cross there from Bezecourt. Looked like it may have had eyes to find Brandon Allen's feet. He wins this initial header. Now Bezecourt in the battle. Connor Donovan able to win it. And Orlando was able to breathe easy This is the first game of the postseason for these two teams. The winner moves on to the Eastern Conference semifinals against Rochester on Friday night. And the moment that they are all looking to qualify for is the 2016 USL Cup Final. It'll be broadcast live on ESPNU. Game kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, October 23rd. So mark that one down on your calendars. Last year, of course, a phenomenal finish. Rochester Rhinos, an extra time winner over the LA Galaxy too. And this year it'll be broadcast on television on ESPNU.
What a good sign for the league, though, to see a moment like this on ESPNU. And, a few years ago we were wondering, would there even be a system in place for MLS teams to be able to have a true reserve network, to be able to take academy players and show them a means and a ways to development and to give young players the opportunity to get important minutes in matches, and to now have this moment, this platform on ESPNU, only a positive, not just for the USL, but I think for MLS to showcase some of their future stars.
Bezecourt's cross is blocked, and it's a strong league now. 2 conferences, Reno coming in. They've already sold 1,000 season tickets. Nashville around the corner as well. So it promises to be a strong 2017, but we look to enjoy this 2016 postseason first as another corner kick's headed, but this one over the top from Zach Carroll. So we come to the closing minutes of this first half.
A good service right there, and then Carroll making that run towards the near post.
Corner kicks have been a huge factor in this first half. The goal came off of one. New York Red Bulls, too, have had numerous opportunities. What's Orlando City B going to be talking about at halftime?
Well, after we were praising Orlando City B earlier in the match for their handling of corner kicks, they've just let that ball go flying in right there. But I think it's really movement in numbers. They've looked very stale, static, really no commitment to getting bodies forward. Obicop on occasion finding a little bit of space, but then really without support. Cox winning and battling for some balls, but really just not being able to do too much with it because, again, the lack of support. So Orlando City needs to find a way to bring some pace into this match, but someone committed to being able to play wide and being able to pull apart Red Bull too.
Etienne Jr. now back on his horse. He tries to slide it to the feet of Allen. It's intercepted by Ribeiro. Neal can launch the counterattack the other way. He finds the safe feet of Turner as we get official confirmation, a minimum of 2 minutes of stoppage time coming here in the first half.
And that's what you want to see from Orlando City B. Marius Obicop going out there 1v1, taking the ball towards the end line, winning a corner kick, but finding Red Bull's back line, their back four, when they're in transition, able to pull them apart and stretch them.
OCB in no rush to take this one. Pierre Da Silva comes over. Marius Obicop, an option for the short corner. Every single player in the attacking half. Zachary Ellis Hayden, the farthest back player. Every New York Red Bull 2 player is inside the 18 right now to defend. There's a little bit of a scuffle on the far post.
Handbags at 10 paces.
Coach Wolonex watching over his team.
Very sharply dressed coach, may I add. The gray sweater's an understated choice on a fall day.
The Mike Petke look back here at Red Bull Arena. Temper is bound to get high as these two teams know there is no tomorrow. New York Red Bull 2 leading 1-0, but what a moment it would be for this OCB squad if they could get a goal against the run of play here in the final minute, go into the locker room tied 1-1, Christian.
And what you have to like right now from Orlando City B is the fact that they are showing some of this fight, that they don't like what's going on, not on the field, but also on the scoreboard as well.
So it looks like a card or two will be shown as Lewis Neal and Derek Etienne Jr. have a little conversation, and then Harrison Heath gets involved as well. Etienne Jr., we mentioned, in his second year of professional soccer, last year as an academy loan player and then going down to the University of Virginia to play. This now his 24th start in his 25th appearance, 5 goals and 6 assists. Dan Metzger now marking the talkative captain, Lewis Neal. So it will be Pierre Da Silva finally to take it here in the closing minutes of the first half. Left-footed service right on the goal. Ryan Mira forced to punch it over, and we'll do it all over again. We are past the minimum of 2 minutes of stoppage time, but most of that taken in the talking. Christian De Silva putting it right on goal, and Mira having to make the safe move and punch it over.
Yeah, and Orlando City B's best opportunity now of the first half coming on. I'm not sure De Silva necessarily intended that to be a shot or not, but something, if Orlando City's going to get back into this game right now, it's going to be something like that, some sort of a breakdown, some sort of fortuitous bounce that goes in their direction. And Ryan Mira all over that one, safely punching it over.
De Silva takes it again. It's headed away at the near post by Najem, and that'll be the final play of the first half. We see Lewis Neal, confirmation that he picks up a yellow card. But for New York Red Bulls, too, the regular season champions, Christian, they came out with a lot of energy, a lot of opportunities, and they're leading 1-0 here at halftime. What do you think Coach Wolinek's saying to his team in the locker room?
Well, I think he's saying that they went out there and played the way they were supposed to play. They pressed. They made sure that Orlando City B had a difficult time in terms of their build-up, and there was no hangover from the way that they played in the regular season. They didn't get worried or caught up necessarily in Orlando's record, in their recent form, the struggles that they've had. So I think from New York Red Bulls' perspective, job well done. From Orlando, a lot of work to be done now in halftime, tactically being able to figure out how to get more numbers into the attack, how to build up, how to utilize the space that Red Bull's leaving when their backline high presses.
One of the things Coach Bulis has to like is after conceding, his team didn't panic, Christian. They actually gave up less opportunities after the goal than before. So the mental fortitude, you mentioned the fight for them, but they've shown the ability to hang around in this game, and of course in this sport, you never know what can happen.
Yeah, defensively, I think outside the first 12 minutes or so, they've done a good job of keeping things for the most part in front of them, but just with as much possession as their midfield is giving up, it was just a matter of time until Red Bull 2 was going to put one in the back of the net. So I think they have to figure out how to have a better build-up, how to move forward, how to push into the attack, and looking at their bench, seeing exactly who they can bring on board, who's going to be a game changer.
New York Red Bull 2 leading OCB 1-0 here at Red Bull Arena. It's halftime of this USL Eastern Conference quarterfinals. We're going to head to a break. We'll be back with first half highlights and stats in just a moment. back here on NewYorkRedBulls.com at halftime as New York Red Bulls 2 lead 1-0 here in the opening playoff match for these two teams of this season. And Christian, it was an eventful first half for New York. Let's look at those first half highlights.
Yeah, and it was all the Derek Etienne show almost from early on, it seemed. He was very active down the left flank, finding a load of space and just repeatedly being put into 1v1 situations. And I think that Derek Etienne moving into the second half now, as Orlando is going to have to push forward, he's going to find even more space on the ball. Several shots from distance, well saved. And then here the goal coming, falling to Aaron Long, who was on the bench with the MLS team. Corner kick not cleared by Orlando City, and Aaron Long there at the back post, able to fire it in with his right foot.
Aaron Long, his third goal of the season. As you mentioned, of course, his first postseason goal of the year. Shots, New York Red Bulls out shooting Orlando City B 9-0. Those last two corner kicks of the half were the only two of the half for OCB. New York with 6. Mark Ridges has had some work to do. 4 saves. Ryan Meara with none. 13 fouls between these two teams. And Aaron Long with that 32nd minute goal. The difference so far in this one. Christian, you mentioned Derek Etienne, his ability to make a difference so far in this game. How does Orlando City B try and figure it out defensively in the second half?
Well, it's going to be a challenge because Etienne's been dangerous. Florian Velo's been dangerous. Bezecourt's been dangerous. Brandon Allen's had a few opportunities. It just seems like those front 4 attacking players for Red Bull interchanging so well, moving the ball quickly, not letting Orlando City get set, get established, and especially the opening 12 minutes of the first half, Orlando City was getting caught numerous times with the ball behind their back 4. So I think for them it's really going to come down to, can Orlando City mount some semblance of an attack? No shots on goal yet in the game. Numbers moving forward, really a lack of speed and creativity has hurt them. And this could be a match where, based off of possession and opportunities created, David, could very easily be 2 or 3-0 to Red Bull New York.
Well, we'll see what Orlando City B can conjure up for this second half, and if New York Red Bulls 2 can stay the course and move on to a second year in a row Eastern Conference semifinal matchup against the Rochester Rhinos. We'll be back here on the USL YouTube channel in just a few moments.
Over the top towards Bezecourt, and it's kicked in off the head, rather, on the near side post. Finds De Silva, what a pass. De Silva shoots and scores!
Off to the races, he beats his man, he's into the box. What can he do with it? Oh, look at that! Oh, just over Ruben Luna. It was a beautiful ball, but it was just a little high. So now Memo has it and he puts it into play. Look at that! Goal! Goal! Eric Bird puts it into the back of the net, hits it off the far post. Come back!
Bijev takes the shot, and it's a goal! T2's down to second. It's Villian Bijev. Can this guy play any better?
You know what? It's great goal.
Only going to be him, and he's going to strike it left-footed. Jake Fina waits a yard off his line. Here's Barrera, comes up, strikes it. Fina goes down. Cannot stop it. It's gone just in there. I just thought for a moment it had gone wide. What a strike from Barrera. That is skill.
Now, interesting to see who will take it.
It's going to be Crittenden. Sensational. Didier Crittenden with another showstopper. Puts the Orange County Blues in front.
Instead, Akinyoti was there. De Silva, closest player. Jones coughs that up. And a goal for Orlando City B. What a strike by Lewis Neal. That's his second goal of the season in a commanding 2-0 lead for OCB.
Back here at Red Bull Arena for the second half of this Eastern Conference quarterfinal matchup between OCB and the regular season champion New York Red Bull 2. New York Red Bull 2 leading 1-0 off the 32nd minute goal by Aaron Long. A halftime substitution as OCB look for a little bit of offense. Haji Barry, the Orlando City draft pick out of the University of Central Florida, right next door, comes on here.
4 goals and 2 assists. Certainly someone who can help them in the final third. This was an Orlando City team, David, that seemed like they were having difficulties breaking through that back four of Red Bull that stayed very compact, did a good job of keeping everything in front of them. So Haji Berry, someone who can stretch the field, not afraid to float out wide, but also 4 goals, 2 assists, can do a lot of things in the final third to help break down a compact Red Bull's defense.
So it looks like Barry coming on for Pierre Da Silva. So the young American attacker, the leading assist man on that team, off as Orlando City B are forced to look for a goal here. New York Red Bulls 2 leading 1-0 as we start the second half of this playoff matchup. New York Red Bulls 2 looking to remain undefeated in their history at home in USL postseason play. Haji Berry trying to make an immediate impact here. You mentioned it with him, 4 goals and 2 assists, the 13th pick in this year's MLS Super Draft. Orlando City making a trade with DC United to acquire the pick to take him. He's had 4 starts in Major League Soccer as well and 8 appearances with an assist. He grew up for a time in Rochester, New York, so familiar with the USL setup, of course. As Tyler Adams takes that free kick. As the court's header forward, but Orlando City, no one to clear the ball outlet to.
And we didn't talk about Tyler Adams an awful lot in the first half, but talk about someone in terms of the pinching in of the midfield shape, doing well with his interchanges with Dan Metzger. When Metzger would move forward, Adams would kind of slide in to help condense the field defensively, winning a lot of second balls in the opening 45 minutes and sustained possession. One of these kind of growing sort of matches for Tyler Adams, playing against a good, solid team in the playoffs, a lot of pressure, and quite frankly, coming in and doing a very reputable job.
Dan Metzger goes down to the ground and pushing that ball out. There'll be a throw-in for OCB. You saw Anthony Pulis on the bench, his first ever year as a head coach. Actually, at times was an interim head coach for the first team after Heath was let go, flying between Orlando City SC and OCB games on the same weekends in different cities to be with the 2 teams. His father, of course, Tony Pulis, the Premier League manager of West Bromwich Albion, drawing 1-1 with Sunderland yesterday. That's that extra level, Christian, that you get here on these broadcasts.
Yes, and certainly Tony Pulis is someone who has a long history of going after American players, a willingness to put them into starting spots in the English Premier League, relying on them for leadership, but also to be key players in his squad.
Carroll with the long ball over the top. No one will chase that one, and Ridgers will get an easy touch. Mark Ridgers, 4 saves in the first half. He averages 3.9 a game, which leads the USL. Normally would like to spread that out a little bit. Onside here for Brandon Allen, trying to get a shot away. He falls down but keeps possession to Powder. Powder's shot driven and saved by Ridgers.
And Brandon Allen right there had a good opportunity, good look at goal. Ended up making several moves with it, losing possession. He liked that look from Noah Powder, but Brandon Allen, striker, has to not make things quite as complicated, keep it simple, put that shot on frame, especially when your team's in transition and you've got bodies in the box.
Bezecourt able to force the turnover with Metzger. He's got Allen and Etienne Jr. They almost collide. Etienne Jr. open down the right side. Save made by Ridgers.
Well done there by Ridgers, showing why he's one of the better keepers in the USL. Etienne with space, looking at that near post. Ridgers going full extension. I like this ball from Bezecourt, realizing that Brandon Allen's in an offside position, sends it to Etienne, and there's a tremendous save by Ridgers.
And you thought Etienne Jr. might curl that one home, but the 26-year-old out of Inverness, Scotland, makes his 6th save of the game as Bezecourt now puts that corner kick in, and Ridgers comes out playing with a lot of confidence today. Takes that one down, and we've already seen here just 5 minutes in, Christian, the formation change with Haji Barry coming on. Michael Cox seems to have a little bit more help up top, and Ridgers has been allowed to, up until this point, release the ball just a little bit quicker.
He certainly is, but we're also seeing more space now in the midfield where Red Bull will have defensively 5 bodies to quickly be able to clog up the middle there. And still Orlando City very one-dimensional, looking direct, looking for that long ball to Haji Barry, to Michael Cox up top. And with there being more space now in the midfield, can Red Bull 2 take advantage of this?
Tyler Adams dropping deep for New York to pick that ball up. Ryan Mira yet to make a save. 26-year-old out of Fordham. Took over as a starter in his rookie year in MLS. Went down to an injury after starting 18 games. Loaned to NYCFC last year, but only getting 1 appearance. And returning, Christian, this year to full form for New York Red Bulls too. Brandon Allen now pushing it wide to Powder. Powder with an early shot. He scored 2 goals just a few weeks ago in one match, but maybe a little overexcited there.
And Noah Powder looking like a young Roberto Carlos out there from about 30 yards out, powering it with his left foot. Noah Powder puts a lot of power and poise on his kicks. Impressive for a 17-year-old.
Visit USLsoccer.com for full coverage of the 2016 USL Cup playoffs, including feature stories, video highlights, stats, and much more. That's USLsoccer.com.
And let's give a shout out, David, if we can. Can we do that? We can do that. All right. We'll give a shout out to the USL Soccer website just because the volume of information, the teams that they have, even more teams coming in next year, but just the easy layout, the constant source of information, the updates throughout the day. It's been a tremendous resource for us throughout the years.
Louisville City, the number 2 team in the league, hosting the Richmond Kickers later tonight as the final postseason match. It all got started on Friday night. And FC Cincinnati breaking the USL postseason attendance record today, as they've broken every other attendance record this year at Nippert Stadium, currently tied 1-1 with the Charleston Battery. That game kicking off at the same time as this one. So they are as well entering that 52nd minute. Free kick going in favor of New York. As I mentioned, the winner of this one will face Rochester. The winner of the FC Cincinnati Charleston game will face off against either Louisville City or the Richmond Kickers.
Think Cincinnati makes that move up to MLS in the next 3 seasons?
They have done a phenomenal job so far this season, getting a nice goodwill message yesterday from Crystal Palace, a team that they faced off against in front of a sold-out 40,000 person stadium this summer. It's been one of the stories of the year around U.S. soccer and everywhere else. John Hark's a native of this area, head coach of that team, as Noah Powder gets forward once again. And Christian, you mentioned the space available for New York's midfield. Noah Powder seems to be enjoying the space in this second half as Velo is able to win that turnover. His cross is blocked, but he keeps it in. Now the long cross made towards Etienne Jr. knocked down. Metzger with the follow-up volley, and he puts that one towards the south ward.
But that opportunity there coming about because of the high press right there. Red Bull really pinching in, and Orlando vertically trying to move the ball, not able to get it with out from that high press. So the high press, when it's working, creates this kind of chaos and confusion.
High pressing once again. Ridgers able to get it away to midfield. Harrison Heath in that midfield had a quiet first half. The young homegrown player has played in the Chipotle homegrown game. A lot expected from him. Another one of these Orlando City B players that would love some more time on the ball in this second half. Noah Powders had plenty of time on the ball. Etienne Jr. with the follow-up shot blocked away on the line and over the goal.
And Derek Etienne finding space, sitting in those pockets, just snake bitten today. He's had about 4 good opportunities, 4 good looks on goal. And here the interchange, the movement, giving freedom to Noah Powder on the left side and just sprawling there from the Orlando City back line. Really under pressure now through 8 minutes in the second half.
Kyle McFadden, an OCB original signing, one of the first 3. And he makes that sliding stop on the shot. Now Etienne Jr. He'll play the corner short towards Powder. Clipped in towards the top of the box, and Carroll at the far post puts his shot over the crossbar.
Well, how would that have been now for the Red Bulls' 2 center backs to both get their names on the score sheet, and neither one of them via the head?
The second substitution of the game coming, of course, in the USL, the postseason like the regular season. 5 substitutions per team available. Andrew Ribeiro's day will be done. Devron Garcia on loan from Honduras will check in, his 18th appearance of the season. He's got 1 goal so far, but an experienced player. Was captain for Honduran U20 team at the last World Cup, the last U20 World Cup, helping them get out of the group before eventually falling to Brazil. A lot of talent on the bench for Orlando. Hadji Barry, Richie Larea, we talked about in the first half, generation Adidas signing out of Akron this year. Johnny Mendoza with that injury still available maybe for a couple minutes later in this game, and then Devron Garcia as well.
And Garcia, in all likelihood, will end up playing or at least sliding in an awful lot centrally, but very comfortable going out wide, can provide good service. Decent with both feet as well.
I think maybe Coach Pulis is hoping that if Garcia can give him a little bit more defensively, it can allow Heath and Neal to push forward a little bit more, take some more risks offensively.
And Garcia is also not afraid to carry the ball up, kind of shuttle it up as well to the 18. So perhaps not the most creative player out there, but again, good quality service, decent with both feet, and will oftentimes find himself in good spots and good pockets to be able to sustain possession.
All over the top towards Etienne Jr. It bounces. Etienne Jr. now gets up off the ground and tries to get on it once again, and Garcia finally able to come away with it. Now Barry trying to turn, and he eventually dribbles out. Metzger looking to keep this game moving quickly. New York Red Bull 2 leading 1-0. They've had play going in their direction throughout the first half and now here in the second half. And they're not trying to rest at all.
And it looks like Zumana Sampara is warming up now for the Red Bulls, wondering if one of perhaps those 3 forward players, perhaps Brandon Allen, beginning to fatigue a little bit.
We also mentioned Velo taking the trip with the first team on the road for Champions League play. Maybe a couple extra miles on his legs as Adams gets that interception. 2 substitutions made already for Coach Pulis. You mentioned Zumana Sampara as well on the bench for Coach Wolonek. Stefano Bonomo, who played in the postseason last year. Conrad Pleva as well, a postseason veteran. Kevin O'Toole. Tim Schmoll, the 6'6" center back out of Harvard University. And Rafi Diaz, the backup goalkeeper on the bench for New York Red Bull 2 in this one. That ball clips Derek Etienne Jr.'s heel and goes out. Adams skies to win that header. Now Velo to the feet of Bezecourt. The French connection gets it wide. Etienne Jr., he plays it into the box and it's cleared by McFadden once again. Donovan and McFadden have had an active day so far, and now the counter's on. Hadji Barry brought in for this reason. Lewis Neal a chance to get a cross away towards the far post to Cox, and it's over his head. OCB starting to generate this attack here in the second half. Noah Powder trying to bring it down, and Ryan Meir is able to clean it up and clear it down the right side. Allen now chasing it down. Eventually finds the feet of Donovan. New York not high pressing, allowing Orlando a little bit of time on the ball in their own back line. It's now turned over to Najem. And it seems that here at a halftime, Christian, Najem and Powder have swapped wings. Najem playing right back in the first half, now playing left back.
It certainly does, and I think that's perhaps to bring a little bit of balance offensively. So much of what Red Bull 2 was doing was down that left flank in the first half.
Below able to get into the box, up to the top to Bezecourt, who drives it, and the Frenchman puts it home.
Unbelievable there one time with that work down the left flank, laying the ball across to Bezecourt. And Bezecourt taking a couple rips from distance. This one finally goes back there for about 18, 19 yards out. But what tremendous work here, 1v1 to sustain it and then send this ball. Bezecourt sitting right there from about 20 yards out. Beautifully placed shot past Ridgers, who's been outstanding this game.
New York Red Bull 2 take a 2-0 lead in this one. Florian Velo setting it up for his team-leading 7th assist of the season.
Difference makers, David. Playoffs are about difference makers, and right now we're seeing difference makers on the field in white making an impact on this game. Derek Etienne's been dangerous. Now Bezecourt as well. Such a gifted player, so willing to be daring in the final third. This time it's paying off.
Bezecourt moves into a tie for second place on the team with 7 goals this season, along with the man we mentioned he's had to replace, Junior Flemings. And New York Red Bull 2 take a 2-0 lead in this one. Stay up to date on the latest from the USL Cup playoffs by following the league on social media. You can follow the USL on Facebook and Instagram for results, news, and video action from these playoff matches.
We can also follow David Goss on Instagram, where you can see his hipster lifestyle and all of his food choices.
You would be staring at a blank wall for quite a while because I don't ever really post on it. Maybe I'll post a picture of you at the end of the game, Christian.
Eating.
Whatever it is you want to do. A little apples and honey for Christian Dyer here.
Someone out there would like it, which is what's creepy.
Noah Powder throws that one in back at left back. Huge moment for New York. Florian Velo creates the goal. Vincent Bezecourt with the drive from the top of the box. As these two teams now fighting for a chance to face off against the 2015 USL champion Rochester Rhinos and knock them out of the playoffs. OCB now with an uphill climb in these final 30 minutes if they're going to be able to at least get this one to extra time. Anthony Pulis has made two subs so far. Harrison Heath with a couple words for for Tyler Adams.
And that's unnecessary there from
And
Harrison
a red card
Heath.
coming here for Heath. So for the second time this season, OCB comes to Red Bull Arena, and for the second time they will finish without 11 players on the field here in the 62nd minute. A red card to Harrison Heath.
And that was really uncalled for from Harrison Heath. Clips Tyler Adams there coming in from behind. Perhaps if he had just acknowledged that it was a foul, just let it go. But really kind of the extracurriculars, I think, sort of solidify that that was going to end up being a foul and a red card.
And we saw at the end of the first half a little bit of disagreement on that corner kick play. It looked like Tyler Adams was a central part of those whole conversations. Harrison Heath, Lewis Neal as well on the flip side for Orlando. And now Harrison Heath will take the early walk to the locker room to watch the final 30 or so minutes of this one.
Yeah, and really I think you look and see that Orlando City, from the head coach to the players, did not come to Harrison Heath's defense, didn't really try to console him at all. Very immature moment at a big point in the game.
Velo's cross. This Orlando City Bees' first year ever in USL. They make the postseason. Now trailing on the road to the regular season champions, and now man down to John Wolinek's team. Christian, it's almost a mirror image of what we saw last year for New York Red Bulls too. They gutted their way into the playoffs. They went on the road against Rochester Rhinos. Conrad Pleva got an early red card, and they fell in that one on the road. But then were able to bounce back this season and have an incredible season interesting to see OCB now go through the same bumps in their first year that New York Red Bulls 2
Yeah,
experienced.
if you're asking me if I'm down with the OCB, I think I am. This is a team has a lot of good creative players, good pieces, Obi Cop being one of them, but they've got some good pieces in place, but they need to build that team depth, and I think they need to build cohesion. Losing those two top players really hurt them in terms of the momentum that they were building. They overcame some difficult spells, and I think perhaps took some lumps. And big moments, games like this, getting to this stage can set them up for 2017. But this is a team that's gone through an awful lot this year, but I think has some good cohesion in place, has a very good head coach in Anthony Pulis, and really needs to come up with what their identity is going to be moving forward. And quite frankly, David, a head coaching change with Jason Kreis changes how this team's going to play from the senior level on down.
This the best chance of the game for Orlando. The header down from Garcia, right into the hands of Mira, but a wide open header on a corner kick. OCB scored against being man down already against the run of play in their first matchup. Michael Cox getting a scrappy goal in that one. It would be huge if they can do it here. Other news in the USL currently, Charleston Battery take a 2-1 lead at Nippert Stadium over FC Cincinnati.
Upset weekend.
If that were to go down, New York Red Bull 2 would be one of only, I believe, 2 higher seeds to have won so far in the USL, with Louisville City still to play. Powder closing down there on Turner, making life difficult. Zach Prince with the 65th minute goal there. I mentioned the records. New York Red Bulls 2. The most wins in a USL regular season, the most points in a USL regular season, the most goals scored as well. They are trying to keep this season rolling along here. The USL playoffs, a winner-go-home scenario. You need 3 wins to get to the USL Cup, a 4th to win it. Rochester was able to do the double last year. I mentioned Orlando City, able to do it in the past as well. New York Red Bull 2 trying to become the 3rd team ever. Velo pushing forward. He already has 1 assist. Brandon Allen able to force the turnover now on his left foot, and he slots it in off the post, and New York Red Bull 2 may have done it. A 3-0 lead here over OCB. The regular season champions are running riot once again here.
And certainly it's been a difficult game for Brandon Allen, I think, to get settled in, to get a lot of opportunities. But again, the battling, the high press, the pressure, all paying off here, and Red Bulls finding Orlando City down a man in transition. And I think Brandon Allen doing such a good job to battle, get the ball there. It's been a little bit of a difficult game for Brandon Allen to find, but 3-0 lead for his team, certainly deserved. And I will say he needs a little bit better execution on his goal-scoring celebration. Bradley Wright Phillips set the standard for that slide last night.
BWP got it done for his team.
Real easy.
Brandon Allen's been getting it done all season. 15 goals in the regular season. 2nd in the USL. 1st on New York Red Bulls 2. His first postseason goal of his career, giving New York Red Bull 2 a 3-0 lead here at Red Bull Arena. Christian in the first matchup, New York Red Bull 2, 4 goals in the second half here at Red Bull Arena against Orlando. 36 goals in the regular season in the second half of play. As a dangerous moment here. A phenomenal free kick opportunity coming for OCB as they try and find a way back in this one.
And OCB looking very dangerous just a few moments ago. Garcia there on a corner kick set piece. Red Bull 2 is going to have to organize and get everything set up because there are some big bodies that Orlando has that they're going to throw into the box. It's now or never time for this team.
You can see the fog. It hasn't rained. A heavy fog here at RBA. Temperatures the mid-60s. Perfect conditions, you have to say, for soccer after the heat that these teams have struggled under throughout the summer. And now OCB, man down, 3 goals down. And Lewis Neal and Marius Obakop are looking to find something special and give their team a glimmer of hope here as we head down the final stretch of this USL playoff matchup.
I think it's going to be Lewis Neal here with the left foot.
The ball played to the far post, a collision right on the top of the 6. 2 OCB players on the ground, no call made.
Lots of space.
And now a chance for New York to get out and counter. Velo was looking for Etienne Jr. on the far side. But this one easy here, Christian, for Ryan Mira to deal with.
Yeah, Ryan Mira is all over it right there. I mean, there were calls for fouls, but I think that's just players getting tangled up. But if we can just go back to the outlet there for a second, I think Bezecourt screaming for the ball right there. He had the easier path in that middle channel than going over the top to Allen.
Stefano Bonomo, you see they're getting ready to come on. This is now his second season with this team. He's got 5 goals and 1 assist on the year in 22 appearances. Drafted by New York Red Bulls 2. Tried his hand with a couple clubs overseas. Drafted by New York Red Bulls before eventually landing with New York Red Bulls 2 in the middle of the summer last year. Etienne Jr. now on his horse. One-on-one with Donovan, trying to get to the end line. He clips it back, still alive, and Velo puts it over the top from 6 yards out. An opportunity to make it 4-0, and he cannot believe that that's not a goal.
And I'm not sure if Etienne actually was able to keep that ball in from going over the end line. And right now, the linesman is getting a little bit of an earful from Orlando City. But Etienne, again, with space, 1v1, taking it, playing a dangerous ball across the front of goal. And Etienne still down behind the goal right now. Not sure if he went into the signage or not.
He collided there with the standard holding up the net behind the goal.
Is that what it's called?
I just made that up.
Well, you said it
I was
well.
going to say stanchion, I think. But
share your 2016 USL playoff comments, pictures, and videos on Twitter using the hashtag USL playoffs.
So that'll be it for Etienne Jr. Stefano Bonomo, who is getting ready to come on. We don't know if that was the sub that was going to be made originally or if it was caused by the injury. But Bonomo now on in place of Etienne Jr. And what a game it was, you have to say, for Etienne Jr. We mentioned his ability at times to dominate, at times to float out. Christian, this was one of his on games.
It certainly was. I think the 1v1 and the creative ability, but you want to see him playing faster with the ball, making faster, quicker decisions. Sometimes there was a tendency on his part to take one touch too many when he could have had a pass that would spring in one of his teammates in on goal. But Derek Etienne, you see why he's being called the Haitian Messi. The kid is dangerous, and when he gets into the flow and the rhythm of the game, is as good as any player in the USL.
Both his father and his uncle played for the Haitian national team, as well as regionally here for the Long Island Rough Riders.
And he has a younger brother who's coming up through the Red Bulls Academy. So we may not be done saying the name Etienne at Red Bull Arena anytime soon.
Etienne the third. Etienne Jr. was one of the first examples of the potential this New York Red Bull 2 team had last season. Playing as an academy player, along with players like Marcelo Borges, who's gone over to University of Michigan. He just got a call up to the U20 national team. Mason Deeds and a few other academy players from this year who have headed off to college, who have already gotten a couple of professional soccer minutes under their belt.
And Michael Cox battling for the ball right there, just throws Aaron Long to the ground.
And Allen with the turnover towards the feet of Bonomo. Bonomo trying to save it. He does. Ridgers gets a touch to it. He's upset once again, believing that ball was out. Conrad Plava's got his jersey on. Derek Etienne Jr. down on the bench. Swapping shirts doesn't seem to be much of an injury issue. Isn't being taken over to the locker room as that shot is just inches wide. Share your 2016 USL playoff comments, pictures, and videos on Twitter using the hashtag USL playoffs. Brandon Allen trying to pick up his second goal of the game.
Not far off there. Ridgers being, in cement right there, looking like he didn't have any clue that that shot was coming in.
Long ball from Neal. Cox has had a tough afternoon, isolated up top, a little bit of support with the addition of Barry, but now with the red card, his job has just been thankless throughout this day. So sub coming here for New York, it'll be Tyler Adams for Conrad Pleva. Adams, another sparkling performance for the young New York Red Bull player. This now his 18th start in his 19th appearance. And for just a 17-year-old Christian, he has played over 1,200 minutes of professional soccer this year with this team. What an experience for him, and what a performance today.
It is an experience, and it's certainly a stage right now where it's going to be all about taking that next step. And Tyler Adams, we've seen him play 45 minutes at the senior level, getting his first start this year. Loads of experience. You mentioned it before, David, in the CONCACAF Champions League, in the U.S. Open Cup, playing a friendly against a team like Club America. And it's all about these moments where Tyler Adams is asked at the playoff level in the USL, not just to slot in and just play a role, but really to be a dominant player. And I think when you look at what he's done and his ability to be able to put a stamp on the game, sustain possession, win the second ball, get springing his teammates in terms of the passing and the through balls, it was a very effective match for Tyler Adams.
Pleva, it looks like, will slot in place of Adams at central midfield as now Kevin O'Toole, another Red Bull Academy player, is getting ready to come on. Pleva, the all-time leader in minutes for New York Red Bull too. A Red Bull Academy player, Seton Hall alumni. He's played at center back, fullback, central midfield for this team. He has been a do-it-all player for Coach Wolenek, and it's great to see him back on the field as well. Suffering a stroke after a Red Bull 2 away game and has worked his way back. This Red Bull family came together behind him, and now he's able to bring an impact to a postseason game once again.
And also, I think this is important now, up 3-0, 15 minutes left in this match. John Wolenek managing his roster, looking ahead now in the playoffs for next week. What can he do in terms of resting players, but also keeping his bench players sharp? Because in the playoffs, you're going to be called on at some point for someone to come in off the bench, make a difference. So being able to keep those difference makers in the flow of the match, in the rhythm, and sharpness is just as important as resting his stars.
Bezecourt curls it in. It's headed at the near post and put home. New York Red Bull 2 make it 4-0, and Aaron Long, the center back, has his second goal of the day.
I think that, I think that is Aaron Long there with the brace, but again, being in the right place at the right time. But what a quality ball being served in from Bezecourt. Unbelievable here, curling it in, putting it right at the edge of the 6-yard box, and Aaron Long in a perfect position. Not sure if that came off an Orlando player or not, but Aaron Long putting himself in the right spot to be dangerous.
You got to feel for Mark Ridgers. Nothing he can do about really any of these New York goals. 4 now for New York, as Dan Metzger's afternoon is finished as well. Kevin O'Toole, the academy player, coming on. Dan Metzger tearing his ACL in the 2015 season.
Terrible injury.
Fighting his way back, though, Christian, and it's been one of the stories of the year. It was one of the stories coming into the season. No one knew how he would respond, and he has had an incredible year once again as we get official confirmation on Aaron Long's goal. He's back now to defend.
Michael Cox doing so well there to end up winning a corner kick, but really no numbers now. Orlando City down a man, an already difficult task being just multiplied in terms of what they have to do to get back into this game, and very few bodies in the boxes. We get a look at the Moss brothers, the celebrity pairings from the Doctors. The brothers always behind the opposing team's bench and known for their love of heckling, we'll put it that way.
Johnny Mendoza getting ready to come on. Can OCB find a goal late in this one, as it looks like their first season is going to come to a close here at Red Bull Arena?
So many good things, though, to come from it. Not only did they do some good winning on the field, they had some very good movements in terms of, especially in the early portion of the season, the string of results they had. You mentioned it earlier, 2-2 result at home to this very same Red Bulls team in the early portion of the season, but then also seeing players get promoted up, taking that next step to the MLS side now with a brand new head coach willing to look at younger players in Jason Christ. So not only are they getting some good positive results on the field this season, making the playoffs a big step in their first season in the USL, but then also developing players for the next level. I think you look at the New York Red Bulls, you look at Orlando City, both of them have had successful seasons so far, just getting to this point, but getting players ready for that next step.
So Obacop's afternoon is done. Johnny Mendoza, who most likely would have been a starter, was a starter last year for Rochester in their title run. He comes in for a couple of minutes, has a chance now on the far post, and Ryan Mira, a quiet afternoon, steps up with the save.
Very difficult for a goalkeeper who's not getting a lot of touches on the ball. Ryan Mira grimacing as he gets up, but this ball being floated in right there. Second ball being won, and then Ryan Mira doing so well to pounce on it to make sure that there is no rebound, just being able to push it out, putting himself in the right position at the near post.
And this one will end in a goal kick for New York. You mentioned all the good things for OCB. Tommy Redding getting minutes with OCB. He got another call up to the U20 national team, so he will be heading to England for the Four Nations tournament against England, Netherlands, and Germany in just a few days. You mentioned Rocha and Ambrose. Of course, Tyler Turner, one of the 20 under 20 USL players, 24 under 24 in MLS. And he's another one of the players right here on the ball who has made a difference. This one will stay inbound.
I think it's going to help now with the head coach in Jason Christ when you look and see what he did at RSL, what he was trying to do, I think, with New York City FC last year was bring in young players but develop a system. And now it's going to take half a system for him with Orlando. I know that they're kind of out of the playoff position over the past month or so, but just building something for 2017, but having an identity for this team heading into next season, I think that's going to help matters. And Orlando City, with their academy, with their depth, with the young players that they have, will only get better. So I know this is not the way they wanted their season to end, 4-0 scoreline, but the future's certainly bright with Orlando.
Nike's a proud partner of the USL. Follow at Nike Soccer on Twitter for all the latest Nike Soccer information. Zumana Simpar is going to come on for Brandon Allen. Another goal for him, 16 so far on the season. His first ever postseason goal and the all-time leading scorer in Georgetown history, and Red Bull Academy player comes off to a round of applause.
Yeah, and it's been a good afternoon from Brandon Allen. Somewhat frustrating, but he did a lot of hold-up play, a lot in terms of the high press that won't ever show up in the box score, and then getting that goal. And what a goal it was from Brandon Allen, very much deserved. And Simpara, big moment right here. 9-10 minutes left to go in the match. Opportunity from the under-17 from Mali. It was very impressive in that World Cup a year ago. Big moment for him to come on in, get some opportunities, and he's shown some creativity. He's shown some flair in training. Now being able to put it out there, see if he can put it together these last few moments and maybe stake a claim for a bigger role in the postseason.
Postseason will continue for New York. They will host the Rochester Rhinos next week, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time here at Red Bull Arena. 4 goals this afternoon, 65 goals scored over the course of this season. If you want to come out and watch some of the most exciting soccer in this country right now, come watch New York Red Bulls too. You can go online to newyorkredbulls.com to look for tickets. And of course, we will be streaming that game on newyorkredbulls.com and the USL YouTube channel as always.
And I think, quite frankly, Red Bulls, too, could give a couple MLS teams a run for their money. Not sure if they'll go out there and get a result, but I think the talent level, the depth, and the ability, especially in the attack, the flair and creativity of this young team certainly could surprise a couple MLS teams.
New York Red Bull 2 not allowed to compete in U.S. Open Cup anymore as an affiliate team. So we will never get to see that, unfortunately. Although we saw what they did against Chelsea and Benfica last year. A lot of these
preseason
game.
A
preseason
game. I think between the USL champion and the MLS champion would be a great way to kind of our version of the Community Shield.
And here's the tough thing now going forward, Christian. New York Red Bull 2 have defeated every USL opponent they've ever faced at least once, except for the Rochester Rhinos.
And that has always sort of been their kryptonite. And in Rochester, the way that they play, their willingness to defend, put bodies behind the ball, play for the counterattack, it's always been something with a free-flowing Red Bulls 2 team that's willing to high press. Rochester's all too content to go out there. Bezecourt very nearly putting that in, sneaking that in near post. Ridgers doing well. And I know the 4-0 scoreline isn't going to flatter Orlando, but I think looking at what they have here in Mark Ridgers, just a young goalkeeper, certainly the moment hasn't been too big for him, kept his team in the game for about 70 minutes, and this scoreline could have easily been 7-8-0 without some of his heroics.
Tim Schmoll's going to come on for Florian Velo. Another fantastic afternoon for Velo. He had the assist on Bezecourt's goal, the second goal of the game, and he has been a huge addition to this team now. His 12th start, his 7th assist to go along with 2 goals, as he just cracked 1,000 minutes so far on the season. And Florian Velo out of Monaco, France, has been a game changer for Coach Wolnick.
And he doesn't look happy at all. Not to come off, and I don't think with his performance. He's a guy who's a perfectionist. He's someone who I think has a bright future in MLS, will probably be with the senior team in 2017, but knowing that he could have done better with a couple opportunities, not happy with where he's at.
New York Red Bulls soon move one step closer to the 2016 USL Cup Final. It'll be broadcast live on ESPNU. The game kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday, October 23rd. Mark it down in your calendar, whether New York is in it or not. It should be a great culmination of what has been a phenomenal 2016 season in the USL. This league ever expanding, its quality ever rising. Stefano Bonomo gets dragged down from behind. An update from Cincinnati. There are over 30,000 fans at Nippert Stadium today. Unfortunately, they're currently watching their team still trail 2-1. That game as well in the 86th minute, like this one is. We'll keep you updated if any changes occur.
And certainly on paper, you look at some of those results, the pathway out of the Eastern Conference for the Red Bulls to the USL Cup is getting easier with a couple of these updates.
It'll be Bezecourt once again. He found the head of Aaron Long on his last set piece from a similar position. Tim Schmoll now 6'6" on the field. Another target. This one right over Schmoll's head. Out for a corner kick for New York.
Very nearly Schmoll right there in the right spot. But again, good service on the set pieces. And I think Red Bull 2 growing in their comfort and familiarity with each other. Start the match, probably wanted a couple of those set pieces back. But this is just good service right here again from Bezecourt to the edge of the 6-yard area. Tim Schmoll very nearly getting his head on it.
Bezecourt goes short to Powder. Powder clips it to the far post. It's won by Michael Cox. And now Pleva plays back out to his teammates' feet. O'Toole and Powder, 2 academy players, link up there at the back. And now Bezecourt drives it in and Garcia intercepts it.
And looking ahead for next week, David, if Speedy Williams is able to go, do you break up this midfield pairing that he has with Metzger? Do you end up pushing Speedy Williams a little bit further up top? Then perhaps, messing up with the chemistry with Bezecourt that he has with Velo and Allen, and it just becomes an embarrassment of riches for John Wolnick and a great problem for a head coach to have.
And for Wolnick, he has the options to play anyone he wants with the international break in MLS. He doesn't have to save anyone for Jesse Marsh's squad potentially for a day or two later. So
Sean Davis? Maybe he gets a call. Maybe some of these players who are on the fringe of the MLS starting 11 get a match or two to keep a little bit of fitness heading into the playoffs.
Long ball from McFadden. Sean Davis, 5 appearances in the regular season, so he just makes the cutoff for the potential to play if he's called on. Although, like you said, Coach Wolenek has an embarrassment of riches on this roster, guys that he's gone with week in and week out, that you could expect to see. Speedy Williams going out with an injury about 2 weeks ago. They expect him to be back right around now, maybe this game just a little bit too early, as you see Wolenek and Ibrahim Sakaya, his assistant coach there. But Pleva coming off the bench that can play there, and the Gem as well we talked about, so a lot of different options. Ellis with that ball crossed in. And now Simpara will chase up top in the closing minutes of this one. It has gone to script for New York so far as Barry tries to get a goal. His shot blocked by Long, and now Pleva will clear it. Similar to what we've seen all season, an electric start, a number of opportunities, defensively safe, and then a goal explosion late in the second half from the Etienne, Allen, Bezecourt, Velo attacking to push this game out of reach for their opponent as we enter stoppage time here in the U.S. Open Cup Eastern Conference quarterfinals at Red Bull Arena. David Goss and Christian Dyer joining you for this one. And Christian, Coach Wolenek's going to get in the locker room, and he's going to be very happy with what he saw over these 90 minutes.
Certainly very happy. He's also had the opportunity to put a number of bodies out there, give some of these younger players, like a Kevin O'Toole, the opportunity to get some USL minutes at the playoff level. Simpara as well, another one who's benefiting from these moments, from this experience, and also the opportunity to, they're at 5 in the back right now. And I know with Orlando down a man, that seems like a silly thing, but there's going to be a point in the playoffs where Red Bull 2 may have a lead. They're going to need to go 5 in the back. Just the opportunity, kind of these final 10, 15 minutes to be able to see some new players, but also to work on some things in a game environment that could benefit them for the rest of the playoffs.
As we enter a minimum of 3 minutes of stoppage time, Simpara tries to add to the goals. It's blocked once again by Donovan. He and McFadden have put in yeoman's work at the center back position. It was a 32nd minute goal for Aaron Long that stands up right now as the winner off a corner kick, knocking it in at the far post. Vincent Bezecourt doubled that lead in the second half, an assist by Velo. And then the explosion, Allen and Long once again. Brandon Allen getting his 16th goal of the season, and Aaron Long his 2nd of the game as Mendoza's shot will curl wide. Harrison Heath, a red card late here in the second half to drop Orlando City B down to 10 men in this one, and that has been the story. Offensively, New York, you have to say, Christian, have dominated this game. Orlando City hung in there in the first half, but eventually it was too much for them.
Yeah, Velo, Bezecourt, very impressive there on the wings. Brandon Allen doing some very good, very tough work, some tough running there, in particular in the second half as the Red Bulls pressed. And really, Orlando City, even when they were at full strength, had difficulty building out the back and figuring out how to handle, how to cope with this Red Bulls high press.
New York Red Bull 2 now on the season are going to move to 22-3-6. Christian, it was a 10-match unbeaten run. Now 11 matches. They are 10-0-1 in the last 11 games on the season.
That's not too bad.
I think that's a record a lot of coaches would feel pretty good about. Orlando City B are going to drop to 9-14-8 on the season. The first year back in USL for the Orlando City name.
but a good season, and a season where, again, we're seeing the players being developed for the next level, and yet they're still finding success here. And I think in Anthony Pulis, they have a level-headed coach, a coach who understands that this is a long-term prospect, that he's being judged not just by the wins and losses on the field, not just in getting his team to the playoffs, but getting players better, helping them to develop. A Michael Cox out here, Mendoza's if he's better, Obi Cop, who kind of in the second half of the year grew a little bit more and flourished. So some good positives. Not a great day for Orlando City B, but good building blocks.
It was a great day for New York Red Bulls, too. For the second straight year in their franchise's history, they host an opening round playoff game, and they get a victory. 4 goals this time, a shutout this time, though. The New York Red Bulls, too, the regular season champions with a 4-0 victory over Orlando City B. And it was a great afternoon for Coach Wolinek's side. 1 goal in the first half, 3 goals in the second half. Stefano Bonomo coming off the bench to help the attacking force for New York Red Bulls too, but it was that man, Christian Vincent Bezecourt, along with Velo and Etienne Jr., who really pulled the strings in this victory.
Oh, without a doubt. Bezecourt looking like he was at a different level, and Florian Velo showing why we're probably going to see him with the full team next year, the full Red Bulls team. And that man right there, John Wolynek, roster shuffles, new players in and out, a host of academy players, needing bodies to practice just because of the numbers crunch with the first team. USL Coach of the Year.
New York Red Bulls who continue their dream season. They get the playoff victory, and let's look at the highlights and let's see how they got it done.
Yeah, it was all Red Bulls 2 from the very get-go. Orlando City having a tough time with it. Aaron Long putting them on the board midway through the first half. Bezecourt corner kick not adequately cleared by Orlando City. And Aaron Long, on loan from the MLS side, puts it away for a 1-0 lead. And then it just sort of built there in the second half. Really impressed with Bezecourt in this match. One touch right here. He was so dangerous when he found space. Florian Velo springing him with the pass right there from 22 yards out. Put it up 2-0. This Brandon Allen, high press in action right there. Quick turnover, couple quick touches. Puts it back to Ridgers, and you have to feel bad for Orlando City's goalkeeper, who did so well, really without a mistake. And Brandon Allen scores number 16 of the year. Still think he has to work on that goal celebration.
A young player still developing. The celebrations on the second
tripped
part
over
of it.
the line.
And Aaron Long got his second of the day to double his goal-scoring output for the season with this header powered past Mark Ridgers to seal the deal as New York Red Bull 2 took a 4-0 win.
And a very good match defensively for Aaron Long, too. Michael Cox combining well there with Zach Carroll to body him up, do a good job on Cox.
So Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Rochester Rhinos come into this house. New York Red Bulls 2 have yet to beat them, Christian. It's the young attacking flair of New York versus the veteran physical presence of the Rochester Rhinos defense.
Yeah, and this Red Bulls 2 team, I think now with Velo, with Bezecourt, has those different makers on the field that can help break players down when Rochester's willing to commit 4 in their back line, but then really their entire midfield core will also sit back there, keep their defensive shape as they will defend 9 bodies behind the ball. So I think right now Red Bulls 2 streaking in, going to be a little bit rested at home, wide pitch, and with those difference makers from Etienne, from Bezecourt, from Velo, will be able to come in, and this will be contrasting styles, but I think this Red Bulls team might be primed for that moment.
So the regular season USL champions run continues. New York Red Bulls 2 move to 22-3-6 on the season with the 4-0 home win here in the quarterfinals of the Eastern Conference of the USL Cup playoffs. For Paul Hawkins, everyone in our production team, Christian Dyer, and myself, David Goss, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time versus the Rochester Rhinos.